Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 484. We're going to jump on in here. An exciting set of champions for us. We're going to pass on this Echo. This always kind of just devolves into the Kyrie and Sunworker deck. And as we only have 15 or 16 or 17, however many expeditions left, I feel like we've touched on that recently, and I want to get a little bit more nostalgic in what we can draft out here. And so if you want to take the Echo and go for the Sumpworkers, try your best to not take either Sherima, Freylord, or Bilgewater in your second pick. That maximizes your chances of finding Kyrie and Sumpworkers. And so as the synergy picks and wild picks turn up, you really just want to see the P and Z packs between Time Lord's Echo, Predict Lurker's Echo, and then cloning program, right? And so if you don't take Freylord, that keeps Freylord from appearing in cloning program. If you don't take Sherima, that takes Sherima away from Time Lords. And then if you don't take Bilgewater, that keeps Bilgewater out of Predict Lurkers. And that's just the easiest way to kind of maximize your chances of finding Kyrie and Sumpworkers. But with these other two, the Nocturne is reasonable. I'm not opposed to drafting Mist Wraiths at some point. And this is a pretty decent start, whether or not we're doing Mist Wraiths or Fearsome, since it has the Frenzied Skitterer here. But I'm not in the Mist Wraith mood today, and we're going to come out here and draft this Fiora. And this is a kind of an interesting set here. The suit up, this is a classic Fiora archetype, just, trying to build towards the Fiora OTK. But seeing the things like the Laurent Protege in this pack make me curious if we can't also include some of the formidable elements like we saw in the previous video drafting Galio. And so I'm not sure how much that thing will turn up. This is a fantastic pack, even if they don't. And we can actually get this up on the site and talk about it a little bit more. And so we are over at ftpbus.com. We're just going to make our way to this drop-down box on the front page and pick up the Fiora and the Shield Wall. This was Shield Wall's the Shen one. This is Fiora and Suit Up. And so, the way that we're always looking for these Fiora games to sequence, the way that this plays out the best in terms of getting OTKs with her, is you just don't play anything the first two turns, right? No units on turn one, no units on turn two. We bank up 3 spell mana, and then on turn 3 we can Prismatic Barrier Fiora, and then on turn 4 we can Riposte Fiora, and then from that point forward, ideally we can play a barrier plus a combat and get the kills in with her. And so the big keys to hitting that strategy are the Prismatic Barrier. We'll try to pick up as many of these as we can. That is just, the big chain to have this pull off. In the event that we can't have Prismatic Barriers, we do look for kind of like the 1 mana combat tricks. But this is the big one. Riposte is the big one. Bright Steel Protector is the other big one. Just a bunch of ways to give Fiora a barrier. Then the next thing we have to stop and think about is, what happens if either we just don't draw Fiora or we do draw Fiora, but our opponent is able to kill her, whether or not they just have a Hush, they recall her before she can get to 4 kills, they have a Vengeance, whatever. And so in the first piece, what if we just don't draw Fiora? We're just looking for any challenger, right? So Laurent Protege is the big one. He really fills in the role quite nicely, but any other challenger will do. So we can come out here and try and control the board and make usage out of these barriers, even if Fiora doesn't show up. Then the answer to the second one, what do we do if we've invested heavily in Fiora and she dies? We need something like big to close out the game. And then the way we typically look to do that would be with the Challenger Dragon, Screeching Dragon, whatever you like to call it. It doesn't specifically live in this Fiora archetype, but we tend to be able to pull them up, right? They might live in Shield Wall, which we see here. The Shield Wall pack also has all of these other things we're looking for, the Bright Steel Protector, the Prismatic Dragon, and the Riposte. And so between these two packs, we should be able to really pull off these barrier OTK kind of things. The only downside to the Suit Up archetype here, it doesn't have Riposte, right? That only lives in Shield Wall, does have the Prismatic Barrier, the Protege, and the Bright Steel. So, that's the highlights. We'll see what turns up here if we get a decent pairing to run away with this. and interesting ones. I'm not interested in incubators. There's just nothing in the Talia archetype that's going to really assist with the Fiora OTK. There's nothing in Demacia that's going to assist with going landmarks. It's just not going to be any good. And so that brings us back over here to either the Garen or the Anivia, and both of these are kind of fine. The interesting thing here is, like, if we're going to maximize our chances to find these prismatic barriers, much in the way we were talking with the Echo packs, you want to just stay away from those certain factions. Here, there's an argument to just stay away from Freylord, right? Suit Up pairs up with Freylord. It's meant to pair off with Sejuani. But I'm not, like, opposed to the Freylord half of this archetype. There's decent cards there. Troll Chance there. Fury of the North is there. Those all play fine with Fiora, and then there's just a lot of big overwhelms in it, so that we can close out the game that way in the event that Fiora doesn't get it going. Then the other option we have here is with the Garen. All the time when we talk about drafting Garen, we usually don't look to actually draft him, right? We're usually pretty happy to be drafting elites, but we don't do so much with Garen on his own. Just because he's so expensive, right? You always end up with like a Screeching Dragon and a Cythria and a like the 5/5 tough for 5, and you just don't have any issues finding expensive stuff. And so we do actually look towards Fiora, and we look towards Lucian whenever we draft Garen, just as a means to drop our curve. And that's, the thing we could look at here today. I think I'm going to pick up this Garen. It's already a decent start with the Double Bird being a challenger paired into the Fiora. But I want to pick up this Ancient Evil archetype real quick and just see what we're working with out of this one. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy archetype. The Brittle Steel comes out of here, which is good. The Yetis are in here, which is okay. Not what we would really be pursuing, but it's just decent incidental cards. And then, of course, it does have some of these big, bomby epics in here between Buried in the Ice, Feel the Rush, and to a lesser degree, War Mother's Call. And so I'm not, like, amped about this, right? I mean, the only cards I would really want to be going out of my way to pick up from Freylord here would be the Brittle Steel. And then I'm curious just to take a quick look at the Sejuani and the Suit Up, how good this is. The Elixir of Iron is here, which is fantastic. But after that, it's just kind of like Troll Chant. I'm not really amped about it. So I am going to go with this Demacian Steel Garen. And there's not like too much in the Garen archetype we're going to be excited about. I am just going to go and force the Fiora OTK today. Realistically, you probably just want to draft elites, but we're going to draft around Fiora today. And so the things that could really kind of assist in this archetype aren't there aren't that many of them, right? There's going to be the Penitent Squire, Honored Lord, which you'd just be happy to play. The only combat trick is Radiant Strike. And then there is a Vanguard Bannerman, which could be fairly interesting in a deck that we're looking to have be fully Demacia. And so we'll keep that in mind. Hang on to the Garen here. See what shows up in the future. And so, of course, we say we're not going to draft elites, and then we just immediately start with a Battlesmith. That's the way this is going to have to be. I don't want anything to do with Noxus. I'm not opposed to picking up, Ionia, actually, just to hopefully get us in this situation to where the three choices we have between our picks are Demacian Steel, Suit Up, and Shield Wall. But Noxus just isn't where we want to be. This packet here in the middle, so many of our units already have Challenger that these cards tend to be fairly dead, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units at this point, and 3 of the 5 already have Challenger. So we will come over here with the Battlesmith. It is at least, a reasonable early game play. I just don't want to be out here drafting elites today. As we come and pick up our second Battlesmith. It just kind of is what it is. I think we're kind of stuck with it at this point. But the Petricite Hound is fine. The second Battlesmith just kind of makes us draft elites at this point. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe the barriers will turn up along the way, and we don't just have to do it. But maybe to a degree, some of this formidable stuff will turn up. Right as we're out here stuck picking up Vanguard Lookouts, maybe we look towards the formidables and get to pull off something that way. There is, the Laurent Protege here in the middle. If we don't want to just be all in on the elites. This is such a brutal one. I was really amped and excited to be drafting around Fiora today, but we could we could just sabotage ourselves and take this troll chant as the means to try and draft towards Fiora, but it's just too much. We'll pick up the 2 elites there. Coming out of this pack, the Vanguard Sergeant and Green Fang Warden are both elites. That's probably as good as it's going to be coming out of a wild pick. Just I don't want to be in Freylord, especially for these cards. The single combat would be something we need to pick up, but these elites are just too good. All right, just the 3rd Battlesmith. Okay, well, it's on. I'm sorry, Fiora. We tried to come in and draft around you. We'll still see if we can't get some of these themes going. It is nice to see packs like Mentors show up, but here I'm going to go with the Bright Steel and the Radiant. We have to pick up some kind of interactivity, and this is a pretty good set. I could see the argument for Concerted Strike. Maybe this is the one we need to go for, since the cards like Radiant Strike may or may not turn up, but we need to pick up a guaranteed removal. Let's do this. Let's get the double interactive pack out of that one. 2nd Concerted Strike if we want to down here. I mean, it does work with Fiora, right? That counts as a strike coming from her. I would typically be leaning towards like these Duran Sculptors, but we already have 3 Battlesmiths at this point, so it's not like an ultra important ability to be picking up. But on the flip side of that coin, having double birds with Battlesmith is a pretty good deal. So I think I'm okay to keep stacking Demacian Steel here. We did just pick the 1 Concerted Strike, so we at least have something. All right. And coming out of these, not like really feeling the Cataclysm. I think we just want to go with the Swiftwing Lancer and the Vanguard Lookout. We have to do like something in terms of top end, and so the Lancer there is fine. Coming out of here, there is a Detain, but we did already pick up the Concerted Strike. I'm going to go with the Combat Tricks out of this pack. I mean, there is still a world where we pick up like 5 or 6 or 7 barriers and we can threaten OTKs with Fiora. And Shield of Durand does, very similar things to the Prismatic Barrier, and we get a 2nd Protege out of this pack. So it's still, somewhat on theme with what we're trying to do. Coming out of here, we probably just need the back-to-back. There is a 2nd Sculptor. I mean, maybe we just, like, go for the bear boosting the whole way with the Battlesmith and the Sculptor. The Confront, I mean, we don't have great targets for it, but maybe we can find something as we come into a pack like this. if we come in and pick up the Gallant Riders, that's a reasonable way, a reasonable target for a Confront. I think that's good. I don't want to pick up a 2nd Confront, though, and I would definitely rather have this Elites pack as opposed to Scouted Out. All right, and our last one. I'm looking towards this Ranger's Resolve Brightsteel Protector. I really want one of these like 1-mana combat tricks, and then the Brightsteel should work out with our challengers. And so I could see this kind of like morphing a little bit into more of a Fiora-centric style deck, but at this stage we're kind of far away from there. Here we can trade out the Lookout. He would be fine in this deck, but again, I still have visions that we'll get at least a singular OTK before it's all said and done here. But you know what time it is. Before we jump into battle, we do have to go and turn something premium. Let's take a peek at what we have as options here. I was hoping for hoping for some of these new cards, and it looks like Petricite Hound is going to be our craft for the day, making it a little bit cheaper on us. That pay-to-win lifestyle, not as bad with the Hound added to our deck. But man, I worry about guys like the Hound. Like, when are we ever going to go and turn stuff like him premium? We're never playing cards like that in Constructed, and so poor guy, he may never get the premium treatment out here. Just have to sit in the non-prismatic land for the rest of his life. But, I mean, I guess it might have to kind of balance out as we have to move deeper and deeper into Constructed. We might have to just start premiuming up more champions and stuff, and so it's gonna have to get another job if that's the case. Honestly, just thought this guy's name was Rainy Wiener, and I was all for it. Once I read it a second time, I was a little sad about it, but I was pretty on point with this guy's name being Rainy Wiener. I'm not like sure what that would mean. Like, I'm not exactly sure what that entails. Like, is it like the environment that you're in, like it's just raining outside and you don't have your umbrella, or is this something that like is that just like a slang term for taking a piss? It's like, oh man, I'll be right back, bros, I gotta go make a rainy wiener, and you're just taking a leak. Who knows? We'll have to ask this guy. We'll find him on Twitter and see what he has to say. But with this hand, a lot of times I will hang on to our champions just because they're so powerful. I think we can get rid of Garen in this one. He had other ideas, but he's like a little bit expensive. A 4-drop I'll always keep. A 5 or a 6. Like the 5s are kind of up in the air. The 6s are a little bit too expensive. So not a bad start though. Get this Battlesmith stuff going. We'll just have to hang on to Fiora here. The Battlesmith into the Vanguard Defenders just feels a little bit stronger than dropping her when we don't have any barriers. Okay. Pretty good start. He just plays a time trick with no plays. We get to start making big dudes. I dig it. Have the boosted Double Bird next turn and then follow up with the boosted Garen. So many stats coming out of this Battlesmith. You can direct all your pokey sticks to the Vanguard Defender there, Rainy Wiener. Do we want to make this trade? I don't think so. I think we just pass here. Like, as we're about to come out here and drop a boosted Silverwing Vanguard, I feel like we can just get a little bit more value out of this defender. We're not in a big hurry, right? We're just going to, like, way outstat him the entire game. And so let's just not be in a rush. Picking up Ranger's Resolve's fairly nice as well. Alright, this just feels so much better now. Sure. Not complete do nothing, but pretty close. So that attack seemed horrible. The Make It Rain completely whiffs. Let's emote that a little bit. Oh. Beautiful. Beautiful. I think this game's going to be over quick. We're looking pretty strong here. But we can at least look at, like, Pool Party Fiora for a bit. You know, it's got the skin on. As we're out here playing Fiora OTK, also known as Most Certainly Not Elites. We gotta bring Fiora to the sun just a little bit, so that she doesn't feel completely left out of these games. All right, Victor comes down. He's probably going to get some kind of boost. Ultimately not too worried about what's happening there. We have the Concerted Strike for Victor if we need to, but I don't think he's going to be in the realm of units we really care about. Succession is good. We can actually just get a full board now between Fiora, Succession, and the Petricite Hound. Now, I don't think we'll be able to win on our turn, but we should ace his whole board, get the rally from Garen, and then be able to win from that point forward. I think we'll be okay here. Give me some of them 4/4s ready to block Victor. All looking good. It's a big boy. Might have to Concerted Strike him. Let's slow our roll here just a little bit. And then, all right, well, he's tapped out. I was going to say it's kind of tough in that, like, we want the Garen to strike so he gets the flip. And then, you know, there's some times where you have to worry about like barriers or ensuring that he's the one to get the hit, but I think this is all good and well here. You could technically like hit it with the 3 and then follow up with Garen, but opponent didn't have any mana here, so it didn't make itself super relevant.
We protect these woods as they protect us.
It's going to be the crashing wave. Oh, sure. So it doesn't kill Garen, doesn't kill the Vanguard. It does pop the barrier, and it will kill our Battlesmith. How much, I mean, how much do we realistically care about this? I don't think it's a big a deal. I'm mainly just looking at either playing the Hound and Fiora or playing the Hound and then looking to boost it with the shield. I don't think he's going to be able to add enough to this board to really worry about. Right, what's he going to do? Just like give us the chump block with the 2/2, trade his Victor. I mean, none of this seems particularly appealing. Oh. So if he lets our 2 smalls through, that would be like a 3 attack in the Hound, and then we just shield the Hound. Yep, this game should be done. Boom him. We pulled out our umbrella before the rainy wiener could get the best of us. Alright, just lethal with those blocks. GG, my dude. And okay, so yeah, we're gonna continue and just draft these Fioras. Like ideally, there'll be some barriers or something along with her, so we aren't just, you know, drafting pure elites the rest of the way. But I do worry that many of our games are going to sequence like that one, where we had Fiora with the Broadwing, beautiful, and a War Chef's less exciting. But bringing in the stack, you're going to do it, girl. Right, on to the next one. And so yeah, I had been meaning to kind of switch back and forth between Constructed and Expedition until we got these done. But I was looking to see if the balance patch that came out, it would have been 2 days from now, or 2 days ago from the time this video's out, was going to have any nerfs or changes to it. And it didn't. It's just it's always a little awkward to put together a bunch of content and then have it be like less relevant. And so it's, you know, kind of the world we live in terms of playing card games, but it kind of sucks to put together a bunch of work and then just have it not be relevant the you know, before the video even comes out. And so I was trying to see how that would shake up. It turns out they just didn't have any changes, which is fine. I hope they just kind of get in the habit of consistency, right? It feels like the Riot's still trying to kind of find their footing in terms of the balance cadence and what's reasonable. And, you know, from a player's perspective, I think it's pretty interesting having 1 month of the card being released, then a month of balance, and then a month of new cards being released. I think that sounds like pretty sweet and what is probably Riot's ultimate goal. But we'll see if that's the way that this actually shakes up. So here, like, opponent is up to some kind of shenanigans, right? If their play is shaped stone and we lose our Broadwing, are we okay with it? I think the answer to that is yes. And so I'm going to come out and block, see if we can't pick up the 2-for-1. And then if he doesn't have the trick for, you know, a more high valued unit later, then that's probably a win for us. We're most certainly going to be the control deck in the face of this guy going double sparring student opener. He's playing Irelia Azir, so just need to come out here and do a bit of not dying, boost up our board a little bit, and then hopefully everything will shake out nicely once our board is just bigger than his board.
to work. They'll never see us coming.
I think we just take this one. We can come in and block the soldier, but oh yeah, definitely just taking the 3 now. It took me a second to realize he was going to grow.
What brings you here? Stand down.
Okay, so a little worrisome. These prismatic barriers don't do as much as I would like, but
He smells something.
let's see. He might block this with a Zir. I don't really want to play the Sharpened Resolve here. I'm more interested in getting the Vanguard Redeemer on board. This does give him the opportunity to like grow all of his units a bunch, but I think that's okay.
Stay still. Our ancestors are watching.
Okay, so I mean we have a pretty good set of blockers for the next attack. We do have this Ranger's Resolve to use defensively to beat up on all of the 1/1s. Fiora finally makes an appearance as the means to both take down Green Glade Duo and be a fantastic blade blocker. So she should shut down a ton of these shenanigans. It would have been much nicer if she could have came down a little bit earlier, so she could, you know, as opponent gets all of these Sand Soldiers on board. It's nice to be able to block them with Fiora and threaten the OTKs, but didn't quite have that opportunity until now. Now he says, "Oh shit, my Sand Soldiers are gonna run into trouble." Oh, ooh, nice, nice. So we can, like, for Demacia this turn. I think that's where we want to be. Just ace his entire board. He's going to flip his Azir with the next unit he plays, but if he's not careful and plays like a Blade Dance, we will get a Fiora block on it. I think we should be in a pretty good space here now. The thing that we have to worry about is something like a Homecoming, which if he didn't play it last turn, I think we should be fairly safe. But these style of decks tend to have a ton of them. Alright, the Azir flip happens. I think I'm okay with just replaying Fiora. I would like to take down this Green Glade Duo. That's the scary unit that they have at this point. We should probably leave additional 1 or 2 health units if we can, right? So if he comes in with more blades, we can block with the Redeemer. I guess Azir's gonna make that a little awkward, but seems okay. Then how do we feel if Fiora just dies? We should probably preemptively bury her. I would like her to get to stick around. Yep. Not super surprised to see that one, but it should be, you know, fairly challenging for him to lethal us next turn. Like, he's spent a lot of cards to get the board like this, and the Green Glade Duo shouldn't have as many options to boost her up. Like, we can deal with blocking all of these other things. We can block all the blades. It's the Duo that's the problem. Alright, incoming blades. Might have to worry quite a bit about this. Yeah, I think we're probably dead here. Between the flipped Azir, the flipped Irelia, him picking up Blade Surges. Where we might get lucky is if we put this Fiora block down, and then he Blade Surges. Right, so if he Blade Surges his Irelia into Fiora and we get a Prismatic Barrier, it would be pretty nice.
It's dangerous
Interesting. He doesn't bring in a Sand Soldier attack. I think we're still in kind of the same space to where he's going to try and kill the Fiora. Look here and here. Let's just start putting our least valuable units out here. Well, what's going to be unfortunate is when he blade surges and then the Fiora. We need to block her with like a 3 health unit, right?
You will not prevail. Can you stomach this?
Come to model for me?
Try and bait the switch on Irelia into Fiora. So then we could look to switch the Prismatic Barrier onto the Vanguard Sergeant. Mm-hmm. Alright, so that's the start. We're going to fall to 6. I'm going to be a little bit sad about what this... Oh, does he really have a second thing? Oh, that's fucking annoying. I missed that he had 2 of those. At least our Fiora doesn't die, but we're in a fairly worse spot now. I thought we could come out of this if the Irelia was gone, but we're just going to have to deal with too many cards at this point.
If I didn't forge it, you won't want it.
Hey, Krabby.
If he has another unit, this is just... Oh, okay. Okay. That was a tough one. I think we could have done that game if we were able to hook that Green Glade duo with the Fiora, but having her get bounced twice was just too much for us to overcome. But here, got more Prismatic Barriers, exactly what we need for Fiora. Let's see if we can continue this one on. Okay, Yuumi, Pantheon. So let's hang on to the Battlesmith. The barrier, I think it's a little expensive. Let's see if we don't pick up more units in place of it. Don't have a hand that we need to just bank into. So this is fine. Start bringing that heat. Well, that's annoying. Don't have a great answer to this. Maybe if we pass, he'll pass, right? Is it a little scary? No, it shouldn't be scary. Like, Sharp Sight would be the only trick. Oh, he passes. Nice. Okay, okay. Let's see if we can't get this curve to work now where we have these dudes on board. You know, if we can get him to pass, no, that's not going to happen at this point. But I thought we might be able to get a concerted strike onto the Saga Seeker. Really feeling bad we didn't pick up that Detain now. The Detain would look pretty nice. We're going to drop the Battlesmith, and then I'm going to drop Garen next turn. This is looking like the kind of space to where... what do you got? More dudes? That's fine. To where we just have to, like, hook the Saga Seeker with the Broadwing just to get it out of combat, then we can still attack with Garen and get some strikes in. I mean, we could just attack and use Prismatic Barrier. I guess that's the other option here. He's currently bigger than the Saga Seeker. That seems fair. Not too many wins he would have with the Lantern. We get tons of cards. +2/+2. And a group shot. think we would rather just tough out of this. Save the barrier for a little bit later. So we should be in a decent space now. He only has the 1 card in hand. He only has the 0 cards in hand now. We're currently bigger than his Saga Seeker. And then we can just deal with all this other stuff. I think we're looking pretty strong. And elusive thing. That's fucking annoying. Does he ever just pass it back to us? He might. He's out of cards now, so we don't have to worry about playing like 2 combat tricks. Let's get the Vanguard Sergeant down. He just attacks with the Librarian. Let's take this hit. I think we can save the Concerted Strike for a turn or 2 later.
Always 2 steps ahead.
So he does get to draw the cheap spell with this Dum Dum. He could have potentially hit Hush off of this. Hopefully that's not what we're about to be dealing with, but it's a potential problem he could have for us. And coming out of these, let's just win wherever we can. So that's a good one. I think we want to take this one for a good attack. These are all just good attacks now. So he has the 1 unit, he gets the Broadwing back in his hand. Garen flips. Yeah, all looks good. So he's gonna have to like do stuff in the face of our open attack next turn. Right? He can... I don't think he can stop this. That's close, I guess. He can play the fish thing onto the Saga Seeker now, but he's going to be a damage short. Oh, the gem takes it close enough. So it's going to come down to if he has like a friendship or a bastion to prevent.
Where'd we end up this time, Book?
Oh, he's gonna let us attack. That seems like a mistake. Oh, we lost our challenger though. I guess that changes it a little bit, but he still shouldn't be letting us attack. We draw a Purify anyways. That's how you get good at the game. You just draw the Purify right when you need it.
Bask in her radiant blessing.
I've got just the thing for you.
Try me.
Okay. Now I do have to take note. I wish there was a way that you could like hold in the button and see what's going to happen in terms of your Purify. This should be a 1/2 with +1/+1 because of the quick attack thing, right? So this should be a 2/3 at the end of the day. And so we might have to just play another card on Fiora here. Right, 2/3. Barrier. Now we get the opponent to 4. We still have the Concerted Strike if we need it. Should be in pretty good space. Flipped pool party, Fiora. It's like a fucking pool party out here in Kansas City. It's supposed to be 80 today. It's so wild the way the weather works out here sometimes. Yet it's supposed to be 80 today, and then snow again on Sunday. So it's the life we live in the land of Patrick Mahomes. Boom it. recently nerfed Prowling Projectile. You used to be able to target your own unit with it, but they said that that was a bug, and it should only target your opponent's units. Some people get salty about that on the Reddit. I'm not opposed to things like that if they messed up the intent, kind of whatever. But coming out of here, I don't really want the Petricite Hound. The Radiant isn't super ideal, but we don't have any of the real like big boosting cards for this thing, so let's go ahead and just get rid of it. But no, it's like it's not like they're fundamentally changing what the card does. They aren't saying this costs more or gives more health or anything. It's just it was intended to have to target an opposing unit. But people get salty about everything. So much toughness boosting in here. Alright, so we're on the even attacks with this one. We're going to look to sequence this with the Sculptor, the Battlesmith, into the Vanguard. So this turn, we're just not going to be attacking. That's fine. We're just going to be trying to build up to the Vanguard. The way that this gets kind of odd is if our opponent starts to get particularly aggressive on us and we feel like we need to play the Brightsteel Protector next turn. This looks like he's probably just going to open, but potential problems on those terms. Yeah. Okay. You get your tough Broadwing. It either dies or you get the tough one, however you want it to be. Now Fiora appears. I think we just need to continue to boost the health. Not in a real hurry here. Very good attack. If this pulls out a Troll Chant, that's kind of a win. Steady Blades, custom made. All the stats. All right, Fiora's ready to do her thing now. Everyone remembers the 3-3 Fiora, but do you remember the 3-4? LOL. Apparently, opponent remembers it. Nice. Okay, so where are you at, Fiora? Picking up another one. Oh, with the Blade Wing and the Blade Keeper. That's pretty good. All the blades. Oh, it's a Broadwing, not a Blade Wing. Looking good. That technically counts as like a Fiora OTK, right? We play the 3-4 Fiora and our opponent just concedes. I think that counts. I think it counts. Just drop it and they win. I'm curious if they'll ever bring her back to a 3-3, how they kind of feel about it. I'd made kind of like a comment on a YouTube comment yesterday in that I still kind of feel like Riot is feeling out how to make the kind of faction identity blend together with balance. And so for kind of like the longest time, the 3-3 for 3 with upside was the thing that everyone got. It's like pretty much across every single faction as to where you'll see a 3-3 for 3 that generates a card or does something. And I think that's kind of like the prime example as to where they need to start messing with costs and stats and abilities to really kind of, lay out and define faction identity as to where... I was going to cancel this so we don't play Porobot. But, kind of the idea is... I was thinking of that in terms of this Fiora used to be a 3-3 with upside. She's lost, her 3-3-ness to being a 3-2. But it's like, champions should just be stronger. So it's kind of okay for, Fiora to be a 3/3. Balance-wise, did that play out? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But, champions can be that and can be better. You see, a unit like Vanguard Sergeant as to where Demacia's thing is just having big units. And so maybe they get to have a unit or two that's a little bit bigger. Maybe if this was a card in Noxus, right, it would maybe be like a 4/2 instead of a 3/4, since Noxus tends to be more aggressive than the other factions. And then maybe you take something like Conchologist to where Bandle City's thing is generating cards and then swarming the board with small units. And maybe they have to, have the Conchologist be a three cost unit, and then it all kind of plays together a little bit more nicely. Right. But let's see how this goes. Up against Fiora Udyr, probably a very similar space that we're in terms of having the OTK quality cards. I don't think we need to chase down this Valor with the Protege. I mean, it can get the value hook onto our Battlesmith, but I think this is how we take over the board.
Always 2 steps ahead.
He smells something.
Nice. And this is the kind of space to where I look to just play a... well, if he didn't open, then we would look to just drop a Bright Steel, or a Blade Keeper. Okay, don't want Fiora to get the kill, so we'll play the shield thing here. She drops back to 2 health, and so we may be able to take Fiora down with the Larend Protege. We're going to go ahead and open with the Green Fang Warden and see what happens, but lots of options to try and take Fiora down. Sure. That makes me feel pretty decent about it. They can still get out of this with the likes of a Troll Chant, but I feel much better about this board. I would like to just try and kill both of his units. What happens if he has Troll Chant, though? It shuts all of this down. I don't think I'm, like, entirely okay with that. The Broadwing would have gained health. We could have gotten away with it. I think this is still okay-ish. You can't kill our Bright Steel Protector with his Troll Chant, but we should have definitely gotten the Valor out of it. Single combat. Okay. Interesting. Alright, looks good. Is he just going to open to prevent us from getting stats? Nope, don't care about this thing. So what do we want to, like, Blade Keep the Duran Sculptor? I mean, it is kind of nice to have her protected from all this stuff. The stats are, surprisingly relevant. And then next turn, where are we going to be at? We'll be at 7 mana plus 2. So we can, if we Blade Keep her now, we can Vanguard Sergeant plus 4 Demacia next turn. I like it.
No closer. My duty's done.
I played it and I was just like, oh no, I messed that math up. I completely messed it up, but no, it's okay. We're good. We're good. I mean, how do we feel about just attacking? I guess it depends on what opponent plays here. Like, if they just played Alpha Wildclaw, then I feel really good about playing for Demacia, but if we're all just playing for width, I do feel reasonably okay just holding onto this Purify and letting the Towering Stonehorn get some more damage in. We'll probably just play for Demacia. What you got? Cataclysm. It's kind of lame. Okay. Well, I'm going to pass on the 4 Demacia now.
I've come a long way from a flying stone bird.
We'll just go for the width. We have to make a trade with the Stonehorn, but we might be able to pick on whatever units I play now. Really? Okay. Classic lamos, what we're what we're dealing with here.
You call this a fight? Aha! Against the Laurent?
All right, but we do get him chunked down really low. Our board is clearly superior. We have the 4 Demacia in hand. I think we should be in a pretty decent space here.
Welcome to the tipsy hour.
A mistake is the first step
Sure.
to improving.
We can just play all of this, right? Fiora is 3, 4 Demacia is 6, and then we still have backup mana for the Purify. Looks pretty good to me. It says, oh no, bust. You're really bringing the thunder now. Sure. Rip Fiora.
Everything I've worked for.
I mean, that's completely fine. It sucks to see her go, you know, but she was never going to OTK this game. The game was just going to end before that would happen.
Okay. Hardly fair.
Hello?
Another Frostbite. Prolonging the inevitable. You can't. I guess you can't say that against Freylord. You never know when they're going to come at you and just blow you up with a Fielder Rush or something. But I think he messed up those blocks. All right, I take it back. We're just going to win. So what do we got here? I don't want to trade out the Sculptors. I don't really need the Swiftwing Lancer. I mean, I'm not opposed to picking up like a little bit more top end. We're still pretty light up here, right? With just Garen, Radiant, Swiftling. But I think I really want to just hang on to the Succession. There's so many draws to where you get to just spew off a bunch of units because it's like, you know, we played nothing on 1, a Battlesmith on 2, a Duran Sculptor on 3, then we're banked up to 2 mana. Then we go into turn 4 and play a 3-drop and a Succession. Like, that's just a very fantastic curve, especially when this thing gets, you know, +1, +2, or +2, +2, or whatever. Just very big units for our opponent to deal with. Hopefully we can just pick up a better trade than having to get rid of these. I'm going to go ahead and skip. All right, off to the next one. Oh man, I've been watching the old Space Force on the Netflix. So many of the characters in there. It's like so many of those guys are like kind of typecast and kind of over the top in the things that they do. It's like Steve Carell is forever just Michael Scott. I'm glad to see him able to kind of get away from that thing. He struggled with that a bit after The Office and Finding a Place. Gene Ralphio from Parks and Rec, completely over the top in Parks and Rec. He still has a bit of that flavor, but it's not as brash and ambitious. Just like every character in there has been quite fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. I remembered watching like season 1. They've done an excellent job with season 2 as well. So, and then it's got John Malkovich in it. John Malkovich is fantastic in the show, and then also it's just like the Rounders had such a incredible effect on all of the magicians from the early to mid 2000s and converting Magic players into poker players. John Malkovich is one of the lead roles in the movie. It's just good to see him doing well. But at any rate, back to the action here. We're getting a pretty strong board. I didn't go and hook the Gift Giver on 2 because I just don't quite care about it enough. And now we're building this, really strong board that should be able to shut down whatever they have. These factions aren't good at combat tricks. I should say our opponent's factions. Bandle City, Bilgewater, Targon. It's a big one. So this will fall to a 6-1. It's not bad. It's manageable. We likely will have to just play a Purify on it, but not that bad. I assume he's not just going to trade the Spring Guardian for our 3/3s, especially after we just drop Garen next turn. Not excited to see Tahm Kench turn up. How do we feel about this? Do we just need to go wide now? Because it's like Garen isn't big enough to deal with either the Spring Guardian or the Tahm Kench. So we just have to get dudes on board instead. Okay. But we are in a pretty good space to just like add 2 dudes and then open with 4 Demacia. I think I like that. The downside is if we need to like... Well, this is okay, right? We can play the War Chefs, so we bank 2. And then next turn we can open 4 Demacia. I don't know what he's thinking about. He never attacks here. Space Force. I did think it was wildly hilarious that the United States announced their space army or whatever the fuck we call it. They called it the Space Force, like right when the show was coming out, and then the show came out just to be a complete comedy about the American space military. I thought it could not have happened at a more choice time. It's nice to see things like that happen sometimes. All right, let's just jump in here and do this. You still have to worry about, like, I mean, we dropped the 4 Demacia. He can, like, Tahm Kench one of our now 5/5s, but his board's going to get aced if that's his play. Goes for double up. Not on board. So we've done this. He's probably still going to acquire taste something, but the Spring Guardian's not as scary now that all of our big boys have tough. Still like willing to come in and trade with this, but may not have to. Just like this turn feels like a bit of a bummer if we end it just attacking with the 6 attack units and having them trade with our opponent's 1 cost units. Not super worth. Okay. I'd feel better. Like it sucks to have to trade with the Spring Guardian, but him having an empty board with just the Tahm Kench makes them in a space to where they have to do a bunch of work to get Tahm Kench going, right? The Spring Gifts is the cheap way to do it, but we'd very much like them to have to spend the 2 mana on the Feast, whatever it's called, Acquired Taste. And then we want them to have to spend more mana to heal Tahm Kench, and across all that time, they should have real trouble just adding units to the board. Drop all the battlesmiths in the world now. Would be pretty decent if we get to play Battlesmith. He eats it with Tom. We play Battlesmith, and then get to get the Redeemer down as well. I have to assume that he's gonna like open Spring Gifts onto Tom. We play Battlesmith. He's gonna play Acquired Taste on Battlesmith. We play another Battlesmith, and then we still get the card draw on the Redeemer. Soraka makes that slightly different.
Gladly guide all who seek my aid.
Okay.
It's dangerous out there. Take this.
I think we're still in a like decent space. He can do the same thing, right? He can put the Spring Guns onto Tom, heal, then play the Acquired Taste, and then when he attacks with a Soraka, Tom Kench will get healed back up to full. But our attack next turn looks much better when Soraka's already pretty injured. Makes it much tougher for her to come out and block.
Darkness hides never.
Interesting. So there will be no Spring Gifts this turn.
If I didn't forge it, you won't want it.
And we can take the Shadestalker. The Purify on the Shadestalker is something we can do at some point, but hopefully we won't need to do. Interesting. So now he can't. Tom Kench will go up to 6 and then fall back down to 3. So he can't Acquired Taste one of our Battlesmiths. This is fine. Oh, no, it can't. Maths are hard. How did that go so weird? Did he not go up to... Oh, he was at 1. I always just have in my head that Soraka heals to full. And that's not the case. Not the way that one works. So now do we want to play this just as a 5/5? We lose out on the card, of course, but we get the giant unit before he can do anything on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then, yeah, I like it.
Our ancestors are watching.
This is not a game we're ever winning on the back of card advantage. We need these big boys to come in and do some work. So, like, in the back of my mind, that 4 Demacia turn is kind of cycling as not being a good turn. But hopefully we can recover out of this. Okay. Good, so let's get the big Garen. And then if we, need to follow in with the Broadwing, it might actually work on the Tom. But this is the kind of space where he just, like, has to play a unit, though, right? Probably not getting a Broadwing. Maybe we are.
You had your chance to walk away.
So, I mean, for him to do that, he has to intend on having, like, some kind of heal in hand, right? And I think this just lets us get in the space to where we're probably hooking Soraka with the Broadwing. And then, Tom can just kind of do as he pleases. The heal is most likely going to be the thing that, like, heals 4 and gives you a bunch of health. And so we just can't, like, play through that. But we can make him choose between either Tom or Soraka. And I think at this point, probably just getting rid of Soraka is the thing to do.
I've got just the thing for you.
So with this, I mean, I expect it's going to be like a Tom Kench onto a 3-2, or I guess it could block the Battlesmith either way, and then something like the Shadestalker in front of Garen, keeping from getting blasted. Falls to 3. Can't purify out of that, but we do kill the Soraka. Okay.
For life. Lover moon, guide me.
It's like Tom's about to do some flipping.
Appetizers aplenty.
That's not like the biggest deal. As I've been playing through this game, I just kind of forgot that the units even come back when he dies. I was thinking like what happens if Tom dies in that combat, and then all of our units are just kind of removed. But it wasn't wasn't a big problem there.
I stand ready.
Okay, so I don't know if this is going to be like an acquired taste onto the Redeemer, but if that's his angle, well, he already knows that we can take Tom down with the Broadwing, and so it's probably going to have to be a Tom onto the Bladekeeper so that he survives these challenges. But then, let's say if he doesn't take down a challenger, then we just lethal next turn.
Call me king. Call me demon.
It's still like pretty close though. It's a 3-5. It's going to depend on if he has a heal or not.
Who does not know the name Laurent?
Right, we attack with everything. He puts Tom in front of Garen. We hook the Shadestalker. We come in for 8.
Where there's a will, there's a meal.
Let's see if that does it. He's still thinking on it. Boomed him. Nice. Oh. I like bringing them booms. It feels good. All right, so what are we doing here? The barrier is probably better than the shield, but I am pretty interested in this Golden Aegis. It's so nice just to have a rally, whether or not it's just because we have, a giant board, or because Fiora's on the way to killing stuff. It's a pretty good addition here. Nice. Yeah, the John Malkovich. I can't remember. Like, I know I certainly did a stint in poker. I can't remember exactly what year that was. I think Rounders came out in like between 2003 and 2005, and then we all got like mega into poker when I was like 19 or 20. It's like we weren't old enough to go to the casino, but we were old enough to play online, and it really kind of like fractured a lot of our Magic group. There's a group of us switched to playing poker. At the same time, kind of another group switched to playing the Marvel card game that was big at the time, like Brian Kibler and some of the guys from the Northeast Magic camp went and put together the Marvel card game. And the local crew had a lot of success with that one. It really kind of put a big hampering on people casting the spells. But that was also right around the time I qualified for the Pro Tour. And it was like nowadays, well, shit, nowadays there isn't a Magic Pro Tour anymore, but they used to do it as if you were playing in a domestic and a U.S. continental U.S. Pro Tour qualifier, they gave you $250 as your travel bonus, and then if you were playing for a Pro Tour outside of the continental U.S., then it was a $500 thing. And so I thought I was just going to play for $500. Ended up just winning, and And then at that point, it's like you have to kind of make the decision: do you really want to go? And it's pretty tough for an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid to have the money to just go to Honolulu, and so I didn't get to go. But that was also like the last pro tour, as to where like I had some ends with some of the really strong Magic pros at the time, because they were also playing the Marvel card game, and I probably could have gotten in with that group and tested with them with the Pro Tour and such, but I just didn't bother because it's so fucking expensive to get to Hawaii. You're out here a college kid making minimum wage trying to get to Hawaii is kind of tough to do, and then having to spend money on the hotels and everything. Didn't pull it off, but it's often wonder how life would have panned out had got in with those guys, because that group that was very good at Magic I was speaking of, they all switched to just playing poker, and many of them still do to this day, quite successfully. What are you doing, guy? Digio, Shyvana, Nocturne, just throwing away all of his health. I'm a little boozled as to what's happening here. I'm playing into it. Whatever he's doing, I think I'm game for. But I'm a little suspect with what he's bringing forth. If he's trying to, like, AoE our board, or what. I'll take the bait to here. I think I want to stop and just, like, collect some barrier mana. Is it even worth? Probably not. Let's just get the Vanguard down. We do have the mana next turn to play the Broadwing plus Golden Aegis. And this should get some serious booming going. Okay. Minor pivot. We'll get our 4/4 from the Succession and then have a barrier for the combat. Well. That doesn't... It would be nice to take this thing down, but that doesn't feel like the combat to do it.
Smoke, ash, and dragon fire.
Alright, let's chunk in this assload of damage and see where that gets us. I assume that this is going to land on like a concerted strike or something, but if we like barrier through it, that's a possibility. I want to see where we stand in terms of killing him with a Golden Aegis as well. But the way this is sequenced out, I wouldn't be surprised to see just like expensive cards coming out of his hand the rest of the way. So, if he spends like 3 mana on a unit here, he doesn't? Okay, we're too close to lethal to not do this. He has to have like more interactivity or a unit or something. There's a piece of it. He still needs another card, right? If he blocks our 4/4, we're still coming in for 8 damage. Got it. Nice. All right, Fiora hard carrying us to the final battle. Let's see what these trades bring to us. All right, I think I do kind of like hanging on to this Purify. It's nice, a nice little a different piece of interactivity than the Prismatic Barriers, so I'll hang on to it. I like the Gallant Rider to a degree. It's like we only have the 1 confront, but we already have 3 Silverwing Vanguards, and so I want to keep the kind of different options there as well, and I'll keep the Succession. Maybe that's the Defender. It's like I am interested in picking up Concerted Strikes. Where do we stand in terms of elites? I know I've actually just like done a bunch of weird trades, and I think we've really taken our count down. We have 2 Defenders, 3 with Succession, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with Garen. Sort of 11 if the Lancer dies. So about a quarter of our deck are elites. I don't think I want to pick up this Battlesmith. We have our 1 Golden Aegis, and yeah, let's not trade the Defender away. I want to hang on to our hang on to our elites. Don't want the first blade, though. I am tempted to trade out this shield for the dragon. Right, we have the 3 prismatic barriers, and they do a pretty similar thing. And we're certainly not an OTK deck. As much as I want us to be, you're usually looking at 10 barriers for that to work. And we only have 1 from the protector, up to 4 from the prismatic, technically 5 because of the golden aegis, and then we don't have any riposts. And so, Screeching Dragon it is. Into these trades, still want to hang on to the confront, though. Not trading out succession. I kind of like trading the Rider out for the Lancer just to get the more interactivity. I think this is okay. Like, we don't have any Tattered Bannermen to generate those Tattered Squire. Here we go, Penitent Squires to generate the Tattered Banners to really have him pop off. So let's skip over all of these. There's a tempting to pick up a Captain Erika, but the games haven't been going that late. And then with this last one, man, it's like I am kind of interested in the Broadwing, but I don't want to trade out our elites. I'll skip over this one. All right. Final battle it is. Glad to see you take it this far, Fiora. We may not get the chance to draft you ever again. Sad. It's like I've never gotten like, kind of sad about like Magic formats rotating because you knew that there was just going to be like the new draft format coming out, but with expeditions just going away completely, it's kind of like, oh man, I gotta just not going to get to do this again. But that does remind me, I got the Riot survey sometime in the past week, and if you do get those surveys, highly recommend you fill them out. And make note of what's important to you. I always talk about in terms of the survey, making the devs, accountable, and that's not to be like, the devs got to do what I think's important. That's not the case. But whenever like the bean counters are like, hey, why does X, Y, Z happen? If the people playing Path of Champions are making a lot of dollars, and Path of Champions is the highest rated thing in the survey, why aren't you doing more stuff for Path of Champions? And the kind of the same thing applied out to Expedition. I know the last time I got the survey, I was like, there's a thing in there that says, what makes you want to play Runeterra? That's a fantastic place to go in there and say, because I love playing Expedition. And then, if there's a lot of following behind it in the market research, then the devs can't ignore it. It's just a very, very important piece of thing that, can shape the game in more ways than you can really think of and imagine. There's a lot of people on Reddit that are like, herder, it's the Path of Champions, nobody plays this. Well, that's because like you and your 6 friends don't play it. That Riot can most certainly tell us that that's the most popular format out there. And the same thing always kind of applied to Magic in terms of the kitchen table players. It's like nobody really knew how many table players were out there because we were just all super busy trying to play on the Pro Tour and stuff. And so those surveys are ultimately super important in getting your feelings known and felt amongst the people at Riot that really count, and those are the ones that make the financial decisions. And so no disrespect to the devs, but everybody's got a boss. And that boss cares about making the dollars and reading the market research. But all right, back to the action here. Kind of a slow start, but it's not horrible in terms of what the opponent is bringing to us. You see this frequently against Demacia, as to where opponent just takes the open because it's easy for us to play a big unit on 2. And so we haven't had to worry about what they're doing too much. And then we do have this Purify lined up for this Saga Seeker. We'll get a big boom on him. Surprised. That's weird that he didn't actually come in with the Saga Seeker.
Discipline and steel.
Totes Magoats. This attack should be safe. It is nice to at least sink some health onto the Saga Seeker. I'll see what he's doing. He's going to put the gem onto the Saga Seeker. That's fine. And so does help him level up his Pantheon a little bit, but it also makes our Purify exceptionally better as well. See what he does. My intent is just to take the damage from this one. You do have to like worry a little bit in terms of these Saga Seekers being able to start getting us with Overwhelm, but he hasn't played any. He hasn't played any Zenith Blades yet.
I am ready. You will not prevail.
Trick. keeping the birds back.
Strength in grace, beauty in the blade.
So the thing we're doing here is, you know, trying to keep this Purify up. I don't want to get like mega invested in this combat. I'm just gonna pass on this one. It's just not a good enough board to really just be going for it out here. Now I feel much better as we can get a full board. We can play the Prismatic Barrier and the 4 Demacias in the next turn. I think this looks pretty decent. We're wanting to play like a Screeching Dragon hit onto the Saga Seeker. Can we do that? We have 8 mana. We could add Battlesmith and try and go for it. We have the 7 mana to try and take it down. We should probably just be playing a barrier out here, though.
A little reinforcement at the seams.
Onwards.
Is he gonna have a pokey stick? Oh, that would be it wouldn't be a disaster, it'd just be fucking annoying. Slightly different concepts. And then if we purify the Yordle, it still it keeps the stats but loses the elusive, right? I think I'm right in that.
Steady hands.
Okay, we strike. Is this a 7? Yumi is a 5. Let's just go. We can start with the Concerted Strike. I worry about this Vanguard getting hushed. Is why I don't want to, like. I guess it's just going to be like 2 either way. So he needs another card to survive the Concerted Strike. I feel like he's probably going to play one. But we'll take him down in combat now. No? We punch it once for 3, and then punch it for 4, and then combat for 4. What am I missing on this? Oh, he spell shielded it. Okay.
Is this the face of fear?
Alright, deal 5. Keep our bird. His elusive thing is, somewhat stuck on Yordle Squire. So that's sort of maybe a win. No units, though. This is kind of a problem. It's like we have to 4 Demacia next turn. Hopefully we'll pick up a unit in the meantime. But we have lost most of our ways to deal with this Rainbow Fish. I'm a little worried about it. It's going to take us to 10 here at a minimum. And then that's a pretty reasonable place for our opponents to boom us from next turn. I'd kind of like to see it just not die. Like, see this Yordle Squire just not die so we can't move the fish, but we don't have a lot of options in those terms. open. Oh, for a double stun? It's kind of abysmal.
If I didn't forge it, you won't want it.
Yep.
You've been following me? Now back it down.
Kind of abysmal. So we'll prevent 3 out of this one. Fall to 6. That's pretty scary. And we lost one of our units for next turn.
I've come a long way from a
So yeah, I mean, I think we're probably hosed this game. I mean, we can play it slow and just try and take down the Cloven Way, but I don't think that does it. Like this is just like a disaster if we hook the Cloven Way and he has a combat trick. We can't stop it next turn. We just have to kind of hope that he doesn't. Like he just like always has a bigger unit than the Squire, right? All right, here comes the bus gonna get you angle. We take down the Cloven Way, right? We take down his other Overwhelm. We leave the Yordle Squire back. We were just dead this game. Okay. Man, that's tough. The thing with like Rainbow Fish is that's one of those cards that it feels like in the past they just like wouldn't have put into Expedition. I know we've had some kind of ridiculous games with it. Opponents have had some kind of ridiculous games with it. But as we look at cards like Ghost, Ghost isn't an Expedition. I'm curious what they've had like. This is just kind of like real storied history of not putting these elusive cards into the game. Like Ghost isn't there. They kind of like dumbed down some of the like elusive archetypes. We would see a lot of them taking. Like the Intrepid Mariner is not an Expedition. He might finally be in here. I'm pretty sure it's not an Expedition. Sumpworks map only comes from... The card itself isn't in. It just comes out of the Sumpworks posse. Bubble Bear's not in. Trying to think of these other ones. Psy Scout's here. Of course, Pharaoh's Sky Cruiser is here. Not here, just like Jace. But then they've done a lot of moving around of things like Kinku Lifeblade, Silverwing Diver, and it's just because in a lot of terms, if you're playing in Constructed, you have ways to kind of pick and choose how to deal with elusives, but there's not as many ways in Expedition to deal with them, and so you see a lot of it seems like they kind of allow the build around kind of, hey, the units can do it, but the spells that just give random stuff, the more combo-y kind of cards, don't make it. And that's ultimately what made me kind of surprised to see Rainbow Fish into Expedition. Just tons of ways that you can't interact with it. But, we've ran into the Rainbow Fish before. That's why I was kind of leery to spend our Concerted Strikes and to spend our Purifies on opponents' just big unit, because we needed ways to deal with that elusive. And it's... a thing like Ghost or Sumpworks map, you deal with the thing once you're done. In terms of Rainbow Fish, you have to deal with it over and over and over and over again. And so you just like always have to deal with an elusive unit, and it gives you some really tough play patterns. But nonetheless, in terms of the decks here, we wanted to be a Fiora deck. I knew that we weren't going to be like able to go super all in on it right there from the start. We would have had to take some like truly bad packs just to force Fiora when the elites were just kind of handed to us. And I think, in terms of garnering wins, we took it in the right path. In terms of, building towards Fiora, though, you're looking to hit about 10 barriers. You want most of them to be prismatic. You also, want riposts so she can attack up, and then you want bright steel protectors so that you can control the board a little bit. And so that's the big thing. 10 is the magic number in my experience. You can kind of include Durand Shield as a prismatic barrier. It seems, like a lot of the unit toughness boosting cards are going to kind of make their way into the Fiora decks, and that one fits in nicely, giving her the permanent health boosts. And so that's the key, in terms of otherwise, you're looking for other challengers. So if you don't draw her, and then you're also looking for Screeching Dragons as your game closer in the event that things fail with Fiora. That's, the kind of the nuts and bolts of the Fiora decks. We did land into a more elites heavy deck than we were wanting, but it was still nice to come out here and piece together some of these bits of Fiora interactivity along with the toughness boosting stuff and the challengers. So I thought that was all pretty nice. But man, I wish I could pull it up on the LOR Guardian now. I don't remember exactly where our losses were, but I'm pretty sure our losses were to Gringlade Duo and to Rainbow Fish, and then we won all the other games. That's kind of wild how that one panned out in terms of exactly what I'm talking about as to why in the past Rainbow Fish probably wouldn't have made its way out here. But nonetheless, I had fun with that one. Nice little trial that we put together today. Again, we should be... oh, look at these turds, because we're just out of cards to craft. We'll take the Scavenger because it's a unit, but that's nice to see. But no, here in the next few days we should be switching a little bit back more towards constructed. Again, I was a little worried that there were going to be a bunch of balance changes. And it's just kind of an awkward spot being in this like really Gnar heavy meta, and then have like Gnar not be as relevant anymore. And so I didn't want to make a bunch of constructed videos with that being the case. But now that we know we're going to be waiting another month on balance changes, I feel pretty good jumping in and getting back into some, the more kind of like back and forth cadence between playing Expedition and playing Constructed. All right, it looks like it's going to do it. Arcade Battle Reward, give me that Udyr icon. And that's going to do it for us today. And so, I hope everyone enjoyed the trials. You learned how to make your OTKs a little bit stronger. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.